Welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking a truly fascinating phenomenon today, the global ripple effect. We're going to trace exactly how highly localized events, everything from a drone strike in a capital city to a seemingly quiet trade agreement, create these undeniable shockwaves across our daily lives. I'm so excited to walk you through this because, honestly, seeing how all these diverse puzzle pieces connect, it completely changes how we understand the world around us. So let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We have 4 sections. 1, escalating global flashpoints. 2, shifting diplomatic alliances. 3, environmental disasters and recovery. And finally, 4, economy and scientific breakthroughs. Let's jump right in. Section 1, escalating global flashpoints. Tensions in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. To really get a grip on the current climate in the Middle East, we've got to look at the immense economic pressure cooker that's building right now. U.S. President Donald Trump just announced some severe new sanctions, and he literally called it the most crushing economic operation ever, bringing up the explicit threat of tremendous economic consequences for absolutely any country trading with Tehran marks a massive, massive escalation. It sets a highly tense stage for the entire region. And this isn't just heated rhetoric. It is translating into actual physical and financial chokeholds happening in real time. We're seeing an active financial embargo play out, with the UAE totally suspending all financial and trade transactions with Iran, which is a direct response to recent regional ballistic missile incidents. And at the exact same time, a physical naval blockade is taking shape. The U.S. Navy is out there actively redirecting Iranian-bound vessels while quietly securing a protected oil corridor right through the Strait of Hormuz to keep the oil flowing for Persian Gulf allies. You can really see how this two-pronged approach aggressively tightens the vice around Iran. The sheer complexity of this region is staggering, especially when you realize all these events are happening simultaneously. In Qatar, mediators are pushing so hard for a Gaza ceasefire. Yet, in stark contrast, kinetic action is still happening on the ground. We've got Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, resulting in over 10 fatalities, and that's overlapping with international friction over Israel opening tenders for 1,200 new settlement homes in the highly contested E1 area of the West Bank. Oh, and add to that Yemeni Houthi forces launching targeted drone strikes against an airport and an oil facility down in Saudi Arabia's Najran region. It is a tangled web of diplomacy that's just constantly being undermined by active, rapid conflict. All right, let's pivot over to Eastern Europe for a second. 300. Just let that number sink in, because it is a staggering figure when you realize what it represents in modern mechanized warfare. That 300? That represents the sheer volume of drones used in a single coordinated overnight assault by Russian forces against Kyiv. The specific target here was regional energy infrastructure. This massive barrage, which came alongside missile strikes, claimed at least 14 lives. It highlights a brutal tactical focus on crippling energy grids, a move that doesn't just plunge cities into darkness, but actually sends immediate ripples of anxiety through global energy markets, directly affecting fuel prices for the rest of us worldwide. Section 2. Shifting diplomatic alliances, changing tides in global politics. We are seeing a fascinating split screen in how nations are handling global relationships right now. On one hand, you have distinct diplomatic friction. Pakistan literally summoned a U.S. envoy to formally protest comments made by the U.S. ambassador to India regarding Jammu and Kashmir. But then, at the exact same time, historical tensions elsewhere are actually thawing. South Korea and China are pulling closer together, with leaders meeting in Seoul to make highly public commitments to mutual economic dependence and complementary trade. It's crazy. Diplomacy is simultaneously fracturing and solidifying right before our eyes. Meanwhile, down in South Asia, Bangladesh has officially changed its political leadership. Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir of the BNP was just elected as their 23rd president. And this is a critical milestone we need to watch, because internal shifts in rapidly developing nations like this almost always lead to sudden realignments in international trade, regional stability, and foreign investment strategies. That stuff impacts the broader global economy for sure. Jumping across the globe, there's this wildly unique legal arrangement unfolding at lightning speed. The U.S. and Liberia just signed a brand new bilateral agreement that permits up to 1,200 third-country deportations. But what's truly striking here is the immediate execution. The U.S. government has already fast-tracked and completed its very first group deportation of 20 non-Liberian nationals directly to Monrovia. That completely reshapes the international immigration enforcement playbook pretty much overnight. Moving on to Section 3, Environmental Disasters and Recovery, Assessing Earth's Volatility.
Let's ground ourselves in what's physically happening to the planet right now, because the immense human and environmental toll is testing the absolute limits of our emergency infrastructures. In Indonesia, a sudden devastating magnitude 7.7 earthquake just claimed 75 lives and injured over 900 people. Now contrast that sudden shock with this slow-moving catastrophe up in Canada. Federal authorities there are battling 582 active wildfires nationwide, and 31 of them are classified as completely out of control. It's this dual crisis of earth and fire, demonstrating just how intense the Earth's current volatility really is.
Section 4. Economy and Scientific Breakthroughs. Looking to the future. $40 trillion. The United States' national debt just crossed a threshold so incredibly massive it almost defies human comprehension. And yet, its impact on the global economy, completely absolute.
To put this into perspective, the U.S. Treasury reported reaching this milestone way earlier than anyone forecasted, mostly driven by rapidly shifting revenue dynamics. And look, this isn't just some boring domestic bookkeeping issue. A debt load accelerating at this speed ripples directly into the global inflation you feel at the grocery store, the interest rates you pay, and overall international market confidence. It literally affects the cost of borrowing for everything from a new car to a new home.
Speaking of our wallets, we can see how quickly high-stakes friction can yield to progress. We were staring down the barrel of paralyzing, massive 50% tariffs on vital Canadian agricultural and metal exports to the U.S. But instead, negotiators managed an 11th-hour preliminary deal. They delayed those tariffs to focus on targeted trade adjustments. That's a massive, collective sigh of relief for North American commerce, and especially for everyday consumers who definitely would have absorbed those costs. All right, let's wrap up with some genuinely incredible news on the science front. Pharmaceutical giants Moderna and Merck have teamed up using experimental mRNA technology. Yeah, that's the exact same foundational science that became famous during the pandemic. Only this time, they are weaponizing it against cancer. Their clinical trials show this new melanoma vaccine significantly reduces recurrence rates in high-risk skin cancer patients. It is a massive leap forward in oncology, proving that the cutting edge of science is still giving us extraordinary hope. Which leaves us with this final thought to consider. We've talked about everything today, from naval blockades and massive drone strikes to a $40 trillion debt and groundbreaking mRNA cancer vaccines. So the big question is, as our world navigates these unprecedented financial burdens and escalating global flashpoints, will our medical and scientific innovations ultimately define our future, or will our conflicts? It's the ultimate balance of human ingenuity versus human division. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.